The calendar changed, but most lives didn't. Because transformation doesn't respond to time, it responds to decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a simple truth. Most people don't want to hear. Your life is not the result of luck. It is the result of your decisions. And if your decisions created your current life, then new decisions can create a new one in 30 days or less. Not because 30 days is magical, but because 30 days of intentional action can interrupt a lifetime of habits. If you want to change your life, don't start by changing your goals. Start by changing your identity. Ask yourself, who must I become for the life I want to be inevitable? Poor people focus on what they want. Successful people focus on who they re-becoming. In the next 30 days, stop saying, I'm trying. Start saying, this is who I am now. Because when identity changes, behavior follows automatically. Your life right now is the sum total of what you allow into your mind. If you keep feeding your mind distractions, drama, and excuses, don't be surprised when confusion shows up in your life. For the next 30 days, feed your mind ideas, not opinions. Feed your spirit vision, not fear. Feed your focus growth, not gossip. New inputs create new thinking. New thinking creates new actions. New actions create a new life. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack structure. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do a few things every day. 1 hour of focused growth daily for 30 days puts you ahead of 95% of people. Consistency compounds faster than motivation ever will. The moment you blame someone else, you give away your power. The moment you take responsibility, you take control, no more. They didn't help me. I didn't have time. I wasn't ready. Ownership sounds like this. If it's going to change, it's on me. And when you accept that, you stop waiting for permission and start creating progress. Show me your environment, and I'll show you your future. If you hang around people who normalize excuses, you will eventually adopt. For the next 30 days, reduce exposure to negativity, increase exposure to excellence. Get around people who challenge your thinking. You don't rise to your potential. You fall to your environment. Waiting to feel ready is the fastest way to stay stuck. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. Action is the prerequisite for confidence. Take the step. Make the call. Start the project. Show up imperfectly. Momentum doesn't come from thinking. Momentum comes from moving. Let me leave you with this. In 30 days, your life can look the same, or it can be unrecognizable. The difference won't be time. The difference will be your decisions. Decide today, act daily, and let the next 30 days prove that transformation is not a mystery, it's a choice. Decide who you're becoming, because every lasting change in life begins with a decision about identity. Most people try to change their lives by setting goals, but goals without identity are weak. When pressure shows up, goals collapse. Identity does not. The question is not, what do I want? The real question is, who must I become so that what I want becomes inevitable? Your current life is a reflection of who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will unconsciously create struggle. If you see yourself as someone who grows, learns, and adapts, you will naturally move toward progress. You do not rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your self-image. Most people wait for motivation before they change, but motivated feelings are unreliable. Identity-driven decisions are permanent. When you decide who you are, your behavior starts to align without force. A person who decides I'm disciplined no longer negotiates with distractions. A person who decides I'm a leader no longer waits to be told what to do. A person who decides I'm responsible for my life stops blaming circumstances, people, and the past. This decision is not emotional. It is intentional. It is not loud. It is firm. For the next 30 days, your greatest work is not outside of you. It is inside of you. You're not trying to become someone new. You are choosing to operate as the higher version of yourself that already exists but has been ignored. Every day, life asks you a question through your choices. Who are you? And every action you take is an answer. When you wake up late, you answer. When you avoid the hard conversation, you answer. When you scroll instead of study, you answer. When you show up prepared focused, and consistent, you answer. Your identity is being reinforced whether you are conscious of it or not. Deciding who you're becoming means you stop living by default and start living by design. Default living is reactive. Design living is intentional. Default living says, this is just how I am. Design living says, this is who I choose to be. One keeps you trapped in patterns, the other gives you power. The moment you decide, your standards change. And when standards change, results change. You don't need permission to decide. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need approval. You need commitment. This decision also means letting go of old labels, labels from your past, labels given by other people, labels created by failure. Who you were is not who you must remain. Growth requires separation from outdated identities. You cannot step into a new future while clinging to an old self. Every meaningful transformation begins with the courage to say, that version of me is no longer in charge. When you decide who you're becoming, your time becomes intentional. Your habits become aligned. Your priorities become clear. You stop asking, what do I feel like doing today? And start asking, what would the person I am becoming do next? That question alone can change everything. Because when identity leads, discipline follows. When identity leads, confidence grows. When identity leads, consistency becomes natural. In 30 days, the world may not fully see your transformation yet, but you will feel it. You will think differently. You will move differently. You will tolerate less. You will expect more from yourself. And that inner shift is the foundation of every visible success. Decide who you're becoming, because the moment that decision is made, your future stops being a mystery and starts being a direction. Change your inputs before you change your outcomes, because no life ever improves beyond the quality of what it consistently consumes. People focus on fixing results while ignoring the source, but outcomes are only symptoms. Inputs are the cause. What you watch, what you listen to, what you read, what you think about, and who you allow to influence are shaping your life every single day. Nothing enters your life accidentally. Everything gets in because you permit it. And whatever you repeatedly permit eventually produces a result. Your mind is not neutral. It is either being programmed intentionally or conditioned unconsciously. If you do not choose your inputs, the world will choose them for you. News, social media, entertainment, conversations, and constant noise slowly train your expectations, your beliefs, and your standards. Over time, you begin to think the way you consume. You normalize what you see. You accept what you hear repeatedly. Then one day, you look at your life and wonder why you think small, hesitate often, or settle easily. The answer is not lack of ability. It is unmanaged input. For the next 30 days, you must become the gatekeeper of your mind. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves access to your thoughts. Attention is not free, it is expensive. Whatever you focus on charges you energy, clarity, and direction. When you constantly feed your mind distraction, comparison, negativity, and fear, you shouldn't expect confidence, peace, or progress to grow. You cannot plant chaos and harvest clarity. You cannot plant doubt and harvest discipline. High-level change begins when you intentionally upgrade what you allow in. Replace mindless consumption with purposeful learning. Replace constant noise with moments of silence. Replace opinions with principles. Replace endless scrolling with focused study. This is not about cutting off the world completely. It is about controlling your exposure. Just as your body reflects what you eat, your life reflects what your mind consumes. Mental nutrition matters. Your environment is also an input. The conversations you participate in, the people you listen to, and the standards around you quietly shape your thinking. If your environment normalizes excuses, mediocrity will feel comfortable. If your environment challenges you, growth becomes normal. This is why change often feels uncomfortable at first. Your new inputs conflict with your old identity. That discomfort is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of rewiring. When you change your inputs, your thoughts begin to change. When your thoughts change, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your habits change. And when your habits change, your outcomes cannot remain the same. This process does not require massive effort. It requires consistency, one chapter a day, one focused hour, one intentional conversation. Over 30 days, these small shifts compound into noticeable momentum. Most people underestimate how powerful this is because the change is invisible at first. No one claps when you turn off the noise. No one celebrates when you choose learning over distraction. But internally, something is happening. Your standards are rising. Your awareness is sharpening. Your tolerance for wasted time is shrinking. You begin to notice how much of your previous life was shaped by what you allowed into your mind without question. Changing your inputs also means protecting your self-talk. The voice you hear most, it's your own. If that voice constantly reinforces doubt, limitation, or fear, it becomes an internal environment that works against you. You must challenge internal inputs just as aggressively as external ones. Speak with intention. Think with purpose. Reframe failure as feedback. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning how." In 30 days, your circumstances may not fully shift yet, but your internal world will. And the internal world always changes first. When your inputs change, your expectations rise. When expectations rise, effort increases. When effort increases, results eventually follow. Change your inputs before you change your outcomes, because the life you want is built first in what you allow into your mind long before it shows up in your reality. Create non-negotiable daily disciplines, because success is never built on intention alone. It is built on what you do consistently, especially when you don't feel like doing it. Most people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because their actions depend on their emotions. Discipline removes emotion from the equation. It turns progress into a system instead of a struggle. Daily disciplines are small, repeatable actions that move your life forward regardless of mood, motivation, or circumstances. They are not dramatic. They are not exciting. And that is exactly why they work. What feels boring today becomes powerful tomorrow. The mistake most people make is looking for intensity instead of consistency. Intensity impresses. Consistency transforms. Non-negotiable means there is no internal debate. There is no daily decision about whether you will show up or not. You decide once and then you execute daily. When something becomes non-negotiable, it stops draining your willpower. You don't wake up asking if you feel like brushing your teeth. You just do it. The same principle applies to growth. When discipline becomes identity, effort becomes automatic. For the next 30 days, the goal is not to overhaul your entire life. The goal is to establish a few disciplines so small and so clear that excuses no longer fit. One focused hour, one physical activity, one learning session, one intentional action toward your future. Small disciplines done daily compound faster than occasional bursts of motivation ever will. Discipline creates structure, and structure creates freedom. Without structure, life feels chaotic. With structure, decisions become easier. You stop wasting mental energy on trivial choices and redirect it toward progress. Discipline is not about restriction. It is about direction. It channels your energy toward what matters most. There will be days when discipline feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the sound of growth. Comfort maintains the current version of you. Discipline builds the next version of you. Every time you honor your discipline, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you break it, you reinforce the old version you sigh. You wanted to leave behind. This is why daily disciplines are so powerful. They shape identity through action. Most people underestimate how quickly discipline changes self-trust. When you consistently do what you said you would do, confidence increases naturally. Not because someone praised you, but because you proved something to yourself. Self-trust is the foundation of momentum. Without it, even the best plans collapse. With it, progress accelerates. Non-negotiable disciplines also protect you from distraction. In a world full of noise, discipline creates focus. When your day has a defined structure, distractions lose their power. You are no longer reacting to everything. You are responding to what aligns with your priorities. This shift alone can reclaim hours of lost time. As days turn into weeks, something important happens. Discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about maintaining your standard. You stop asking how little you can do and start asking how well you can do it. Excellence grows from repetition, not pressure. Mastery is the reward of showing up again and again. In 30 days, your life may not look completely different on the outside, but it will feel different on the inside. You will feel stronger, more controlled, more intentional. You will trust yourself more. And that internal stability becomes the platform for bigger goals and greater challenges. Create non-negotiable daily disciplines, because the future you want is not built in ants of inspiration, but in the quiet, disciplined actions you repeat every single day. Eliminate excuses and take extreme ownership, because the moment you blame anything outside of yourself, you give away the very power you need to change your life. Excuses feel protective, but they are expensive. They protect your ego while quietly robbing you of progress. Every excuse sounds reasonable in the moment, yet every excuse produces the same result: stagnation. Growth begins the instant you stop explaining why something didn't work and start asking what you can do differently next time. Extreme ownership means you accept full responsibility for your results, regardless of circumstances. This does not mean everything is your fault, but it does mean everything is your responsibility. There is a difference. Fault focuses on blame. Responsibility focuses on control. You may not control what happened to you, but you always control how you respond. And that response determines the direction of your life. When you own your response, you reclaim your power. Most people underestimate how often excuses show up in subtle ways. I didn't have time. I wasn't ready. I'll start when things slow down. These statements sound harmless, but they are agreements with delay. They train your mind to wait instead of act. The truth is, time is never found. It is allocated. Readiness is never felt. It is built through action. And life rarely slows down for anyone. Progress belongs to those who move forward anyway. For the next 30 days, every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice ownership. When something doesn't go as planned, ask better questions. What could I have done better? What can I control right now? What lesson is available here? These questions shift you from victimhood to leadership. Leaders don't wait for perfect conditions. They adapt, they adjust, they execute. Taking ownership also requires brutal honesty with yourself. Not judgment, not shame, but clarity. If you are not where you want to be, something in your behavior needs to change. Blaming the economy, other people, or the past might feel justified, but it keeps you stuck. Ownership feels uncomfortable at first because it removes your excuses. But that discomfort is the doorway to growth. When you eliminate excuses, your standards rise. You stop tolerating inconsistency. You stop accepting half effort. You stop negotiating with distractions. Ownership creates urgency. It creates focus. It forces you to confront the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that confrontation is necessary for change. Extreme ownership also transforms your confidence. Confidence is not built by success alone. It is built by responsibility. Every time you take ownership, you reinforce the belief that you can handle challenges. Even failure becomes valuable because it provides feedback instead of shame. When you own failure, you extract lessons. When you excuse failure, you repeat it. Deset changes how you speak, how you think, and how you act. You replace "this happened to me" with "this is mine to handle." You replace "they didn't support me" with "how can I improve my approach?" You replace "I can't" with "I'll figure it out." These shifts may seem small, but over time they reshape your identity. In environments where excuses are common, ownership will feel lonely at first. But ownership separates leaders from followers. It attracts respect. It builds trust. And most importantly, it creates momentum. When you stop waiting for someone else to fix things, progress accelerates. In 30 days, your life may not be perfect, but it will be honest. You will no longer hide behind explanations. You will move with intention. You will respond instead of react. And that shift alone can change your trajectory. Eliminate excuses and take extreme ownership. Because the fastest way to upgrade your life is to take full responsibility for where you are and where you are going next. Upgrade your environment and associations. Because no matter how strong your intentions are, they will eventually bow to the influence of what surrounds you. Environment is the invisible hand shaping your behavior when motivation fades. It quietly sets your standards, your expectations, and your sense of what is normal. Many people struggle not because they lack discipline or desire, but because their environment is constantly pulling them in the opposite direction of a life they say they want. Your environment includes more than just the physical space you live or work in. It includes the people you interact with, the conversations you participate in, the routines that surround you, and the energy you are exposed to daily. If your surroundings normalize distraction, inconsistency, and excuses, progress will always feel heavy. If your surroundings reinforce focus, growth, and accountability, progress becomes natural. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your environment. Associations matter because behavior is contagious. Over time, you adopt the language, habits, and beliefs of the people you spend the most time with. This is not weakness, it is human nature. If the people around you complain constantly, you will begin to see problems everywhere. If they challenge themselves and pursue growth, you will begin to raise your standards without being told. Your associations shape your identity long before you realize it. Upgrading your environment does not always mean removing people completely. Sometimes it means reducing exposure. Sometimes it means changing how much influence certain voices have in your life. Not everyone deserves equal access to your attention. This is not arrogance, it is stewardship. You are responsible for protecting your focus and your future. Distance from negative influence is often the first step toward clarity. Your physical environment also matters more than most people realize. Cluttered spaces create cluttered thinking. Disorganized surroundings drain mental energy. A clean, intentional space signals order and control. When your environment reflects discipline, your behavior begins to mirror it. Small changes like organizing your workspace, limiting distractions, and creating dedicated spaces for growth send powerful signals to your mind about who you are becoming. For the next 30 days, treat your environment as a tool, not a backdrop. Ask yourself whether your surroundings are supporting or sabotaging your goals. Do your daily spaces make growth easier or harder? Do your conversations push you forward or pull you backward? Awareness alone will begin to create change. Intentional adjustments will accelerate it. Upgrading associations also means seeking proximity to people who operate at a higher level than you, not to impress them, but to learn from them. Growth accelerates in the presence of higher standards. When you are around people who value discipline, clarity, and action, excuses feel out of place. You rise simply by being close to excellence. This process may feel uncomfortable at first. Outgrowing environments and relationships often triggers guilt or fear. But growth requires change, and change requires courage. You are not rejecting people, you are honoring your future. The goal is not isolation, the goal is alignment. As your environment improves, your tolerance for wasted time decreases, your expectations increase, your focus sharpens. You begin to notice how much of your old behavior was shaped by what you allowed to surround you. Momentum builds not because you forced it, but because resistance has been reduced. In 30 days, you may not have completely transformed your world, but you will have shifted its direction. Your surroundings will feel lighter. Your conversations will feel more purposeful. Your energy will feel more focused. Upgrade your environment and associations because when your surroundings support your growth, success stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like a natural outcome of the life you are building. Act before you feel ready, because waiting for readiness is one of the most common and most costly traps people fall into. Readiness feels responsible, but in reality, it often disguises fear. Most people are not stuck because they lack ability. They are stuck because they are waiting for certainty that never comes. Growth does not begin with confidence. Confidence is built after action, not before it. The truth is, you will rarely feel fully prepared for the next level of your life. New levels require new skills, new thinking, and new capacity, and those things are developed in motion, not in waiting. If you wait until you feel ready, you will stay exactly where you are. Action is the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Without action, intention remains imagination. Fear is not a stop sign, it is a signal. It signals that you are standing at the edge of growth. The mistake most people make is interpreting fear as danger instead of opportunity. Fear simply means you are about to do something unfamiliar. And unfamiliar does not mean impossible. It means expansion is required. Acting in the presence of fear rewires your brain to associate courage with progress instead of avoidance. For the next 30 days, Your goal is not perfection. Your goal is movement. Imperfect action creates clarity. Every step forward reveals information you could never access by thinking alone. You learn what works by doing. You refine your approach by engaging. Momentum begins the moment you stop rehearsing and start executing. Waiting often sounds logical. People say they need more knowledge, more resources, more time, but knowledge without application turns into hesitation. Resources are rarely fully available at the beginning. Time does not create courage, action does. Most successful outcomes you admire were built by people who started before they were ready and figured things out along the way. Acting before you feel ready also builds resilience. Each time you move despite uncertainty, you strengthen your ability to handle discomfort. You prove to yourself that fear does not control you. This builds self-trust, and self-trust fuels confidence. Over time, what once felt intimidating becomes familiar. What once felt risky becomes routine. This approach changes how you relate to failure. When action is your priority, failure becomes feedback instead of a verdict. You stop attaching your identity to outcomes and start focusing on growth. You realize that mistakes are not evidence of inadequacy, they are evidence of engagement. Those who never fail are those who never act. Acting early also shortens the distance between effort and results. When you move, opportunities appear, conversations happen, support shows up. None of these things occur while you are waiting. Action invites alignment. It signals commitment. It tells the world, and more importantly yourself, that you are serious about change. In the beginning, action will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a warning, it is confirmation. It confirms that you are stretching beyond the familiar. Comfort preserves the present. Discomfort creates the future. Every meaningful improvement in your life will require you to step forward before you feel ready. In 30 days, if you act daily despite uncertainty, your life will feel different. Not because everything worked perfectly, but because you moved. You will have clarity you didn't have before, confidence you didn't wait for, momentum you didn't expect. Act before you feel ready, because the life you want is not waiting on perfect conditions. It is waiting on your decision to move first. Let me leave you with this. 30 days from now, your life will not change because you heard a powerful speech. It'll change because of the decisions you make after this moment. You now understand that transformation is not a mystery. It begins when you decide who you're becoming. It accelerates when you change what you allow into your mind. It becomes real when you commit to daily disciplines. It gains power when you eliminate excuses and take full ownership. It becomes easier when you upgrade your environment, and it becomes unstoppable when you act before you feel ready. Nothing you need is missing. The time is not wrong. The opportunity is not coming later. The only question left is whether you will act on what you already know. In the next 30 days, do not aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. Aim for ownership. Aim for action. Small decisions made daily will create a future that looks nothing like your past. Your life is not waiting on luck, motivation, or permission. It is waiting on a decision. Make that decision today.